Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Spillin the Beans, a podcast brought to you by Given Beans, the Barrow Soccer fanzine. And once again, on this fine, what is a Tuesday evening when we're recording, which is also another time when we've got teams in and around us playing, so you might hear some random shouts out and cheers if we're randomly checking fixtures. That seemed to be a constant of the last three pod recordings as we find ourselves deep in this relegation battle. But to talk us through it all tonight, we've got back from a short rest. Dave, how are you?
I'm not too bad, Jonny, recovering from my trip to Swindon.
Yeah, you are, yeah. That's we'll hear all about that. And Fraser, welcome back.
Hello. Yeah, I think this is the first time. So I've moved house since I last recorded. So I'm coming to you from sunny Gateshead, the home of the Swindon FC, Swindon Town's club secretary, who got a nice shout out by Mr. Holloway after Saturday's game.
Yeah, elaborate on that a little bit. So let's kick off with that, because that is a quite surreal link. Not only were we playing Swindon, obviously Holloway made that that strange rant after the game. There was also another connection, wasn't there?
Yeah. So I think the current Swindon Town secretary is the former Barrow chief operating officer, or various guises. Alicia. I listened to that interview, so I've been putting off listening to that interview for a few days on purpose, and oh my goodness, it is rather deranged, to say the least. That is a broken man. Deary me.
Yeah, I know, and it's just I found that link quite funny, because obviously when she was at Barrow, she seemed to rattle a few people, so but not quite as much as Holloway's been rattled by the whole thing. So yeah, anyway, to kick us off tonight with our new little intro, our random beans questions. Fraser, I'll come to you first. Here we go. Which current Barrow player favourite flavour of vape is Red Bull and Mango?
Will Stanley.
Fucking shite.
No. I'm afraid it's wrong. It's Lewis Shipley.
Oh.
You surprised? Or
Thought his favourite flavour vape would be something more agricultural.
Yeah. Good point. And Dave, yours is, and we've got kind of scent theme tonight as well, scent and taste theme. Which current Barrow players' go-to aftershave is Davidoff Cool Water?
Ooh, immaculate image, living on past glories. Conor Mahoney, innit?
It's a very good answer, but I'm afraid it's wrong, Dave.
Ah, he lets me down again.
Yeah, it's actually Sam Foley. So stick with a classic, if in doubt. So yeah, let's move on. Let's get this podcast going.
That was the week that was. It's over. Let it go.
So Dave, tell us about your trip to Swindon.
Oh, it was fun and games. Drive down was all right. 3 and 3/4 hours. Not too bad, to be honest. Got in the pub beforehand, have a good chat with various members of the Barrovian diaspora from all points around the country. The usual kind of gallows humour. I don't think anybody was expecting or hoping for or daring to hope for anything more than a draw, but we kind of gathered in hope rather than expectation. Yeah, I mean, first hour or so, I thought we did all right. We went ahead, which was great. Danny Rose it scored a kind of a poacher's goal, didn't he? He was there. He was in the right place at the right time to bundle it home, which is the sort of goal that you need to be scoring. I was disappointed in the manner of the way that we conceded, not just kind of the way that Palmer scored from the corner, but the way that we gave the corner away in the first place. There seemed to be a bit of a miscommunication, and you thought, it's the sort of thing that happens to bad teams, really, giving away goals like that. But yeah, for about an hour, we did all right, and there's been a lot of debate about the shape and the new signings and this, that, and the other, and we kind of held our own against Swindon, who are one of the decent teams in this division. But it was just after the hour mark when the when the changes kind of were made, that it's slowly but surely started to disintegrate in front of our eyes. I was a bit baffled as to why he took Powell off. I thought he was doing all right against their right winger, who looked a real threat, to be fair. And in the first couple of minutes, I thought, if Powell's not on it, on his mettle, we could be in for a long afternoon here. But credit to him, he did all right, and he was positive himself, trying to get going down that left flank. But yeah, we made the changes, and then we're gonna have to talk about it, aren't we? That second goal. I watch two teams every weekend. I watch Barra and I watch my daughter's under-14s team. I would be apoplectic if either of those teams put in defending like we saw for that second goal. You can talk about systems, you can talk about formations, you can talk about all these kind of intricate things. At certain points in the game, it's about having the desire to keep a clean sheet. It's about having the nous, the wherewithal to realise that you're under a bit of pressure and in a bit of danger and to do something about it. And Raheem Harper on Saturday, 2 instances within a few seconds, it was an absolute disgrace. And I'm no wonder the Gallagher kind of went off it a bit in his interview on Saturday, and hopefully he'll back that up by kind of having Harper nowhere near the squad on Saturday, because you can't defend like that. If that was Darren Sheridan coming across, as I said in my report on the website, if that was Darren Sheridan coming across, one or both of those players would have ended up in the stand. Ian Allington made a fantastic point on the Barrow Social the other day. I think it was generally a good listen, but he made a really good point. Lucas Stevenson, 19-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid the other day, ran 60 yards to absolutely plant a Notts County player the other season when it looked like we were in danger. He had the he had the bollocks to take take an opponent out of the game and snuff out the danger and take the yellow card. It's fine. Sometimes you have to do it. And I think that little passage of play just really exposed the soft centre that's been kind of at the core of a lot of what we've done this season. And it almost wasn't as bad in real time watching it live as it was on the replays, but like kind of watching the replays again on Saturday night, Sunday morning when I was kind of compiling my report. My blood was boiling, and I'm fairly calm on this podcast, and I kind of try to be a bit of a voice of reason and give people a bit of slack and be a bit understanding. But that wasn't. No, I'm not having that. That is not defending that we need. Between now and the end of the season, we are in a fight. We are in a fight to stay in League Two, and I've said enough times on this podcast that at League Two, if you're not at it, you are one contract away from driving a van, and Raheem Harper, if he thinks defending like that is acceptable, never mind finding another club. He needs to be applying to Tesco, Asda, McDonald's, DPD, whoever else, Every, because that is not what a professional footballer does. So I'm going to Notts County on Saturday, and if I see Harper's name on the team sheet, I've got a good mind to just turn around and go straight home, because if that's acceptable, then we're knackered.
Yeah, and it's 2 weeks on the bounce for me, because we mentioned this on the podcast last week, and some people might have thought it was maybe harsh as, the Crawley player kind of cruises forward and Raglan's kind of stepping back off him. But there is that moment, Fraser, where Harper seems to do exactly what he's kind of done here in the following week, where he just doesn't seem to commit, and we can see the goal at the back of that.
Yeah, it seems to be a recurring theme with Harper, and as Dave said, I didn't see it until like the morning after, and I was like, I was pretty livid. I would say I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised he did it the week before. But it was just like there's a spectrum of things he could do in those 2 instances. He has to break up the play from closing down more, showing someone down the touchline to I don't know, 2-footing someone, I think. And it's just, it's like the third goal we conceded as well, albeit I think he's sort of a bit dawdling on that one as well, and not really giving his full 100% in that midfield. That bit in between the midfield and the defence seemed to be where Swindon were able to capitalise and break us down. It's a real sort of shame, because we did play well for that hour, And compared to, I mean, when Swindon came to Holker Street, they bullied us. I think that the new signings had made a big difference. Just a few of the more experienced heads who should know better, who are letting the side down. And between now and the end of the season, it's going to be the players who are up for a fight that need to stand up and be counted, and will hopefully get us over the line, or they're probably not getting us over the line, probably staggering over the line in slow motion.
Yeah, and just your thoughts as well, Fraser, on the team sheet when you've seen that on Saturday, because there's quite a lot of changes, and the one positive does seem to be the new players that started in that first hour of the game. The negatives really coming into play when we're sort of seeing them old, ghosts sort of creep back in after the substitution.
Yeah, I mean, I was pleased. Yeah, Powell started, and Thompson started. Powell was getting games for Blackburn's first team. He started a championship match a few weeks ago. As Dave said, like, Olakigbe was a tough opponent, and what I saw in that, he seemed to be coping pretty okay, pretty well with him. From what I saw, just taking the player, making those substitutions after 55 minutes. If you're substituting a player after 55 minutes, they're either having a shocker, the team's really struggling. I don't think either, or third thing, they've been playing a lot of games recently and the managers made changes because they're tired, and I don't think any three of them were true. I mean, you could say, like, you have to make changes. You're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. But I just don't think we were level pegging at that time, I think. And I think with your Jacksons and your Harpers and players like that, I think until we establish some form, just keep them out the team, on the bench. I don't know. They can come back in once we've potentially regained some confidence. If someone gets injured and we have to play them, then that's fine. But yeah, I think go with the young lads until the end of the season, and until we chuck enough things at the wall that something finally sticks and we do eventually conjure a win out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think, can you look at this game, if you're a manager though, Dave, can you look at this game in isolation? I mean, there's obviously the trip to Swindon that day, there's the really tough trip away to Notts County, and then really the big focus is around the Shrewsbury game and then the home game against Colchester. As the manager, got to do a bit more to think about how them 4 games might play out, rather than, that sort of one fixture and just thinking in the moment. Is that affecting some of these substitutions and some of these young players who've just been thrown into the squad? I mean, if we take, for example, Jack Thompson, he finds himself playing for Barrett at the weekend. It's a lot to ask, to get a full 90 minutes out of these players. You should be able to trust, some of the longer standing players who've had that came off the bench. It's more of a damning thing on them, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the reason we've drafted in a lot of these young lads is because the older heads haven't done it. That's kind of why we're in this predicament in the first place. And I don't think we've got the ability to pick and choose what games that we play our best team, if we know what our best team is, because hellfire. We played Crawley last week. That was a must-win game, and we messed that one up. So you can't kind of look at Shrewsbury and say, right, all the eggs in the Shrewsbury basket. You've literally just got to bite and scratch your way through game by game, every single, to the rest of the season, until we kind of hit upon what is our best 11. Because obviously the window's closed now, so we're not going to see any more kind of names coming into the fray. So I think it's just a case of, he said it on the Friday about Canavan being back in the fray, and he said, he can look in people's eyes, and he knows the people who's got burning desire and all that sort of thing. Monday morning at the training ground, he should have been just lining them all up and just sitting and saying, look, who's got the balls for the fight? Who's up for it? Who's going to give me absolutely everything? Because if you're not, because let's face it, these are professional footballers. They're not Barra supporters. They don't care about the club as much as we do. They've got contracts to play for, and they've got professional pride, and that's absolutely fine. But at the end of the day, if we get relegated, it's a sad moment, and then they'll go off and try and get a contract at Rochdale or someone like that. So let's not have any sentimentality. And kind of, again, as I alluded to in my report, Gallagher's, is it too early to say he's under pressure? Because he's not pulled any results out. Our new manager Bounce has been a new manager belly flop so far, so he's going to have to pull some results from somewhere pretty damn soon. Otherwise, our board, who are kind of not, they're fairly notorious for not hanging around if they think a change needs to be made, that'll start being a conversation that's happening at boardroom level as well, I'm sure. And once he's got a kind of a failure on his CV, then that'll affect him for the next time he goes for a job. It's taken him a while to get this one, so if he kind of gets drummed out of us after 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever, it's not going to reflect very well on him, is it? So he needs to, first and foremost, pick the team, the matchday squad, with what he thinks has got the character to fight and battle for 90 minutes to get a result. And then if we can graft on quality and a bit of flair and a bit of creativity, all well and good. But I think the starting point is, it's really meat and two-veg stuff. It's, have you got a team that's going to battle for 95 minutes and leave absolutely everything on that pitch? Because I'll be honest, I mean, the reception at the end, there was a few clapping them off. There was no booing or anything like that. But I don't know. There was a few on that coming off that pitch on Saturday who I didn't think had put absolutely everything on the line. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at the league table and I'm thinking, we need scrappers, we need battlers. And for me, like we're talking about the midfield, Scott Smith's first name on my team sheet in the midfield now. I mean, he was cast aside for God knows how long, but, he's not the best player in the world, but Christ, he'll give you 100% for 90 minutes, and that's what we need.
Mm. Yeah, that was going to be a question then, we talk more about kind of mindset and approach rather than, ability and tactics and stuff like that at the moment. And with that, who really stands out? And as I was thinking about that question, that was probably the first name that came up. So, but, I think certainly if the Gallagher and the team try and get this right and try and install it into them, some players might just start to surprise us a little bit once they realise they're in that fight. And especially, like you said before, Dave, if they're seeing the likes of Harper just being dropped and being almost ostracised from the squad for not applying themselves like that, then, that's a bigger sign that they can show. So let's move on, because it's getting difficult to talk about the games at the moment because there's not a lot to kind of break down after loss, and talking about players applying themselves and just not seeing that. It can make tough talking, that's for sure. Let's move on to the transfer window a little bit, because we spoke about the players that came in to that team, Fraser. A lot of them kind of thrown in, a lot of them younger ones. Can you win anything with kids?
Yes.
Okay, next question.
No, I think, I mean, a bit of a cliche thing to say, but young footballers are genuinely quite sort of fearless, and they're not sort of, I don't know. I think it's quite good getting a load of loan players in January, because the risk is if you sign a load of players on loan in the summer, they play really well, the parent club recalls them and sends them out to a League One side. So I think it's quite a sensible approach. It looked like good signings. So Powell, Thompson, Anderson, the other Anderson, Freddie, who's out injured, which I think is why Thompson was brought in, but I could be wrong. I keep getting the names mixed up. It's just like loads of like fairly sort of standard sort of blokes names. But no, I think that the transfer business has been pretty decent. I think it just so happens to be we just need to, now Gallagher's had the transfer window, just see how things sort of go. I mean, we can't be afforded the luxury of time, but at the same time, all these players.
Sorry. Harrogate are getting beat. Sorry.
Good. No, it's all right.
You know what? I was keeping one eye on that game was going on a bit too long at 0-0. So I thought when Dave said that, it can be one thing. It's quite good actually hate watching Harrogate and being in a relegation battle there, because we do that anyway. So adding a bit more into that. But yeah, sorry, Fraser, go on.
I'm quite happy with the transfer business. I mean, I was talking bringing Cole Stockton in, and I just think like, obviously comparing Barrow with Liverpool is a very, very accurate comparison. In the summer, they obviously brought in Isak and Ekitike. They didn't really need to bring in all those strikers. I think sometimes like we've brought in Danny Rose, we've brought in Joe Van Malcolm. Bringing in another striker, I think, is like we don't need to bring in another striker. We've got sort of enough sort of strikers or players in forward position. So be intrigued to see how he gets on. I think we're fairly well equipped. It's just whether it's enough to keep us in the division. I think by virtue of there being 2 relegation places, that is what will save us. I mean, if there are 3 relegation places or 4 relegation places, it'll be a completely different ball game. I think there'll be a lot more panicking, but it's like we could end up staying up with a record low. Not just us. 2 or 3 teams could end up staying up with record low points total. So there's not that jeopardy there.
Yeah. On the whole, Dave, I mean, how do you rate that window? Seems to be a bit of a kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the 14th best budget in the league, so we're not going to sign 6 absolute stellar League Two players, are we? I think we said when Rose signed that it's probably as good as it gets in terms of reputation. And by all accounts, we went for Cook and would have paid the money that that was required. So, you got to credit the board in terms of backing the manager, in terms of bringing bodies in. It's always that thing, isn't it? Do we want them? Do they want to come? Can we afford them? And unless you get 3 ticks in the box, then a signing isn't going to happen. So I'm sure we could have all kind of named 10, 15 players who were kind of late 20s, good experience, a couple of League Two Championship medals under the belt and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you can't force these players to sign. And at the same time, we talk about some of the ones that we want to get rid of. They've got contracts, and you can't force someone to come in and take some or all, or, however portion of the contract, to take them on to kind of move them out. Cause I'm sure there's 1 or 2 that we gladly would have seen the back of. But, you can't, it's not Championship Manager, is it? You can't just click a button and it happens. It's a whole lot of circumstances that have to come right. So yeah, I mean, I must admit, maybe 1 or 2 I'd have liked to have had some young players. So yeah, the likes of Powell and Anderson or whatever. But maybe 1 or 2 more gnarled professionals, even if they're not kind of the long-term option, even if it's kind of till the end of the season, or again, or a loan or something like that. Just someone who's kind of been there, done it, and knows how to kill a game on the 84th minute. If we are defending a lead with a few minutes to go, just someone who's got that nous to kill a game off and not do something kind of like the miscommunication that happened on Saturday for the corner for the first goal. It's just little things like that maybe, but we've got what we've got. We just need, it's like Rona said last week, we just got to back them now. I know I've been fairly critical this evening so far, but on a Saturday or on a Tuesday night, I will back them, not because I like them personally or rate them as footballers, but they're representing my club. And if they do the bit on the pitch, we stay up in League Two, and that's all I care about. Absolutely all I care about. I don't care what 11's on that pitch, as long as we get some points.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at the players that have come in, Fraser, do you think there's anybody from the current squad who will be a kind of big loser in that window, who's going to kind of find himself warming the bench a little bit more?
Oh, that's a good question. Obviously, Lewis Shipley, I don't think we're going to, I don't know, maybe he'll get sent out on loan to a Vanarama side. Seem to have an abundance of sort of left-sided centre halves now. I don't know really. Josh Gordon might find it a bit challenging to get back in the team when he gets back in. But I think he could bring. I think he could definitely. I'd like to see either him and Rose, or I don't know, Gordon and your man Malcolm. I think we've got some good options up front basically. But like Gordon previously, like there was no competition for his place, and now he's got quite a bit of competition, which I think can only be a good thing. And I think if you're looking at the players, which players can we potentially hang our hats on in terms of doing enough to get us over the line? You're looking at Josh Gordon, you're looking at Danny Rose, you're looking at Scott Smith, Joe Anderson. There are some, you can sort of name the players that like that you think may be able to potentially do enough to keep us in this division. So yeah, I think there are some. I think more basically there's more competition for places, which is a good thing. There are like some gaps though, still like the right wing back position. I'm still not entirely happy with that, but
yeah, no, I think it's a really good point. I think that depth now and that competition of places does seem stronger on February the 3rd than it did on December the 3rd. And if we start to see, Sam Foley get back on the pitch, there's every hope that he can contribute to this run-in. MJ Williams still to come back as well. So there does seem to be a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel there in terms of options for players and for Gallagher to play around with. So yeah, that does seem a little bit positive, I suppose. With that in mind, let's move on to the game on Saturday.
Hello, you've reached the offices of Given Beans. All our beans operatives are busy getting it forward at the moment. Please leave your message after the beep.
Hi guys, it's Tom from Notts County Talk, Notts County fan run podcast. We do weekly shows on a Thursday evening from 7:30 called The Pavis Perspective. The Pavis is the stand we sit in, hence the name of the podcast. Preview shows, talk about the last game, have a look ahead to the next game. We do 2 post-match videos a week. One is a vlog and one is a match reaction instantly after full time, and some prediction videos for the other results in the league as well. So our season is going really, really, really well. Massively exceeding expectations. We lost in the playoff semi-finals to Wimbledon last season over 2 legs, lost both games, didn't deserve anything from it. Wimbledon were the better side over both, and that spelled the end for Stuart Maynard. And it was a season where we reached the playoffs, but the potential was so much higher. We had David McGoldrick, we had some fantastic players in that side, and we really thought automatic promotion was there for the taking. So by the end of the season, it was quite evident that this season we'd actually underperformed, especially with the likes of Walsall completely dropping off in there, opened the door to us, and no one wanted to take it. And we ended up really messing up. Brought in Martin Patterson. Only job he'd ever done was keeping Burton Albion up in League One. We say keeping him up. He actually took them from 20th to 21st. They lost 3-0 on the final day, and stayed up only because someone else lost. So really no hope in terms of that. But it's been incredible so far this season. Recording this before the Gillingham game on Tuesday night. If we win that, we could be in the automatics places. But if not, we're still nestled in that playoffs. 4 straight wins in a row. We had a little blip over Christmas, but we'd won 4 straight before that as well. Things looking up, really up for us. The football's so much better than it was last season, not just passing it around for passing's sake. I think when you saw us earlier in the season, we still kind of had the soft underbelly of Notts County from previous years, even back to the National League when you did us at home and things like that. So, yeah, massive positives for us Notts fans, and just looking forward to every game as it comes. As I say, recording this just before the Gillingham game. Can't wait to get out the door, get to Meadow Lane and see the football. Fan base is really, really positive as well. Not just myself, everyone that comes on the podcast, everyone we speak to, it's buzzing around the ground. We can't wait to see who starts. We're confident in the signings we've brought in. And this season now, I think there's Bromley, I think there's MK, Cambridge, Salford, us, and probably Swindon, who are fighting for 3 automatic spots. I really, really do believe we can get automatics this season. The only problem is the other sides are so strong. MK Dong's so strong inevitably. Look at the players they've bought. Bromley, who everyone seems to think is going to drop off, aren't dropping off. And Cambridge do not concede. 22 goals conceded this season in 28 games is absolutely amazing. So if we can beat those teams, I think the points total might be higher needed to reach automatics as well. But this is Notts County, and I've seen so many times in my lifetime we've achieved 3 promotions. And one of those I wasn't really conscious Notts County fan for, to be honest. I was very, very young. So we could easily go and lose to Gillingham at home and lose to you at home, and then we're back to square one in terms of automatics, but really positive. Notable in-outs, Liam Love from Barnet has looked really good since coming in. James Belshaw, the former Harrogate goalkeeper, Notts County fan as well, came in for Keller Roos, which has been the biggest upgrade in the history of football, I personally believe. Cue a mistake on Saturday from him. But no, massive upgrade. Defence looks calmer, really, really good. So we've signed a few other players as well, but I'd say they're the really notable ones we've brought in, and I'm really, really happy with those signings. So should see us good for the rest of the season. Barrow this season, Barrow away was probably my low point of the season. Obviously, it would have been very high for you guys with that 98th minute winner. And we ended up playing with 10 men through an injury. Patterson at that point felt very naive, made all his subs by sort of 65, 70 minutes. But Barrow, I think, have a bit of a history of Notts of coming out on top. Obviously not always, because that's not how football works. But I just think back to Barrow and things stick in my head, and I mentioned it so many times. I'm not gonna brush past it again, but never been so rattled as when the COVID season you guys celebrated in front of the Kop. And we had no response. We were absolutely hammered by you guys. So I think it's always a tough test playing Barrow. You're obviously not having a fantastic season, which is a good thing for us coming to a home game against you. But you did us earlier in the season, and I think it's going to be a tough one. So really looking forward to it. On paper, we should win this game. No disrespect. You know, if we want any chance of automatic promotions, we go and beat Gillingham tonight. We go and beat you. But that's not how football works. Could easily come out of this with 0 points. Prediction for me is going to be a 3-1 Notts.
Yeah, well, that cheered me up, actually, Dave. Part of it was how the other half live, you know, in a world where the football is good and the vibes are good. And that was pretty depressing, but some a bit of nice, not counting nostalgia there. And we are a bit of their bogey team. In fact, they've never beat us looking head-to-head since we've come back to the Football League. Do you think that plays in at all to Saturday?
Sorry, Jonny, Swindon have just won. They've just beaten Harrogate. I won't shout and scream again, but yes, that's big smile on my face now. What we were talking about, Notts County. Yes. So that 3-0 game, that was one of the high points of watching Barrow that under Ian Evatt. That was the day we collectively thought we can do this. It was looking promising until then, but that game, everyone was walking out of the ground at the end of that game thinking, we have got a serious chance of going up. Like, just instilled belief because the football we were playing, it was it's a big stadium, it's a nice stadium, it's a big crowd, famous old name, and we thrashed them. They could not, as your man says there, they could not live with us that day, and it was absolutely one of the high points of my however many years watching Barrow here, there and everywhere. It was a fantastic afternoon. And yes, earlier this season, we beat them. I remember looking on, I was on holiday, so I missed it myself, but looking on social media and their fans kind of, Martin Patterson comes across applaud the fans and they're telling him to get out and resign and he should be sacked and this, that and the other. And you're thinking, bloody hell, lads, it's August, give the lad a chance. And obviously the board's held the nerve and he's repaying them. But I would they got some quality players. Matty Dennis up front. I mean, because what a great player he was in that absolute Carlisle team back end of last season, and he's just scoring goals for fun again, isn't he? So he's a danger. But they'll have quality all over the pitch, of course they will. But you never know. You never know. And I would absolutely snap your hands off for a draw right now. If it was a stinking terrible 0-0, I'll take that gladly. But we've got to take heart from the fact that, for an hour against Swindon, we lived pretty comfortably with one of the better teams in the division. So, again, it's applying ourselves for the full 90. It's about individuals winning their battle, and you never know.
It was quite, like I say, nice listen along to that, Fraser, because sometimes you think it's probably just us who remember these things and other clubs don't really pay too much attention. But, some piss has certainly been boiled at Notts County over the years from from a Barrow point of view. They're flying high at the moment. It's difficult to to really see us getting anything at the weekend. But you never know, we could just be that thorn in the side, whether it's going back to the National League days, the many games we've had. And also, I always think what stands out for me, that outstanding Lucas Stevenson tackle that Dave mentioned before. There'll always be something out of this game that just seems to create a little bit of tension between us two.
Yeah, we seem to have a bit of a hex over them every time that they should turn us over. We have ended up turning them over. I mean, we did, as Dave mentioned, held out Swindon for an hour. I mean, I did watch Swindon play Notts County last Tuesday at Notts County, and Notts County beasted them. So, yeah, I'm pretty... looking at their team now, the back three of Lou Macari's grandson, Matty Platt, and your man Bedeau, who was at Morecambe, and the new goalkeeper. It looks pretty good. And I didn't think they'll be any good this season because they appointed Patterson in the summer. They made that weird announcement about their transfer committee, and yeah, they've been better than the were under Luke Williams, under your man who's now the manager of York City. And yeah, they're right up there. They've just beaten Gillingham 1-0. I mean, there's one or two players missing. Jody Jones, who's probably the best player in League Two, if not one of the best. I think he's quite injury prone. I don't know where Alassana Jatta is, but got Matthew Dennis up front, got Norbin in midfield. Yeah, there's massive amounts of quality there, but you never know. But what I've been thinking today is sort of not jumping ahead to the Shrewsbury game. It's like if we play like we did against Swindon against Shrewsbury, we should be okay, but that's a big if, and we've got to get down to Nottingham and try and every game. I don't believe this is a free hit. Every game is really, really important. It doesn't matter who we're playing against or where they are in the league. We have to leave, absolutely go in for every game, treating them the same and trying to win, trying to get a result in every game from here on in.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, it's a different proposition than Swindon. I think this is much tougher. I mean, Notts County now won 5 on the bounce. Swindon, had lost a good handful of games before, pick up some good results, tonight and against us. So there does seem to be quite a lot of the fear factor going into this. And I hate it when we play players, ex-players, who we have sort of affection for. I mean, he would have been playing that day, Matty Platt, wouldn't he? If I remember correctly. He was a key feature in that 3-0 side. So, yeah, we can't really talk about Saturday then without talking about Tuesday day, because that's where a lot of our attention will be. And I'm not too sure a lot of people talking about Notts County as a kind of free hit. I think, when you're a couple of points above the relegation zone and, Bristol Road's been picking up points, there's no saying that Newport, Harrogate or Shrewsbury can't win on Saturday. It certainly doesn't feel like a free hit to me. But yes, Tuesday is the one, Dave.
Yeah, well, as I said before, we're not good enough to pick and choose. We don't have the kind of the character or the quality in the squad to decide that we're going to turn it on a certain day. Otherwise, why didn't we do it against Crawley? Because that was a 6-pointer, and we messed that one up, didn't we? Albeit with a helping hand from the referee and the linesman and whoever else decided that perfectly good goal wasn't a good goal. But Shrewsbury is going to be. It's going to be a nerve-wracker. It's going to be tough. It's going to be the sort of game where I'm a nervous watcher in those sort of situations, and I usually try and find a little row of seats to myself, and I just pace up and down. So my step count will be about 20,000 or something after Tuesday night. And it's almost as like us in the stands. We can be nervous, but Gallagher's got to get it through to the players that just go out and play your natural game. It is just a normal game, because especially if you've got a set of young lads in the back four, if they kind of take on the magnitude of the occasion and see it as a 6-pointer, then maybe they don't play their natural game or whatever. I don't know. We've not tested these guys in the kind of the white heat of competition yet, have we? Really, in terms of a really kind of big game, a 6-pointer. So yeah, it's going to be huge. It's going to be one of those where Newport and Harrogate fans will be glued to flash scores to see which team gives them a little bit of hope, and it'll probably set a bit of a marker for the rest of the season, because we've got to win. We've got to win a game sometime.
It'd be nice.
I'd like to think so. I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't want to be coming on this pod every week if we're not going to pick another win up between now and the end of May. Yeah, it's a good job I've already got nowhere because I'd probably lose the remainder. Yeah. So whether it's Saturday, whether it's Tuesday, I don't know. Is 2 points an all right return from 2 games?
I think so. I think with Shrewsbury away, yeah.
But as I say, we're not in that position where we can pick and choose because, quite frankly, we're not good enough. The old cliche, each game as it comes, and just get stuck in, Barra. Come on.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at Saturday as well, again, like the fixtures do seem to look good if you're looking at the other teams. Newport are at home to Grimsby, who are doing well at the moment, and Cook's getting off the mark for them. So hopefully there's some damage can be caused by him. You've got Harrogate, really tough game. They're playing they're Cambridge, who are just best team in the whole EFL at the moment out of Cambridge. I think have they kicked on since they played us? I seem to remember when the Cambridge guy came on our podcast that they were struggling at that point, picking up wins, and since then they've just been absolutely electric.
Yeah, they were struggling for goals. It was there's 2 teams who didn't know where the next goal was coming from, and we kindly donated a couple to them and really kick-started the season. But I think it just going back in terms of the fixtures, I think it's kind of middle of March through to middle of April. We've got a stinking run. I think we play most of the top 6 in that time. So I'm the same as you. I look at the fixtures each week. I've got all the as it was coined last week, the shit league. I've got all the participants of the shit league on my favourites. So I'll look at every Tuesday night at who's playing who, and who's got an easy game or tough game. And we've had a relatively all right run for the last couple of weeks with other teams having tricky fixtures. But as I say, as soon as it gets to March, it's us that's getting the tricky fixtures. So, got to play everyone twice, haven't you, over the course of the season? But, I'm already looking at that fixture list with a bit of trepidation, especially that last game of the season.
Yeah, it's this is the only thing I do partly enjoy about, relegation battles. There's been a couple of kind of mid-table finishes with not really much to play for. It does keep you gripped, to the whole areas of the league and who they're playing. So there is that intrigue about it for sure. Fraser, anything to add to any of that in terms of the upcoming Shrewsbury game or Notts County on Saturday?
Well, I've been thinking in terms of like previous relegation battles and stuff like that, following like both Barrow and Newcastle, and sometimes like you can. It's entirely possible to go on a dreadful run that we're going on now and drag ourselves out of it. As John Goodwin said on the social, there's still lots to play for, and I'm just hoping there's a moment whether it's Saturday or Tuesday where something just happens and it's just like the sort of like the turning point where we've got a settled team, we can find a way to win somehow, and then we can go forward from there with a settled team, some players coming back in, Josh Gordon, Sam Foley, Stanley gets his confidence back after his concussion, and we'll sort of end up having like a decent end to the season. But I'm very much, as Dave was saying, I'm very, very nervous. Not as much about Saturday, but next Tuesday I can see a very, very panicked evening in front of the TV, a la 2020, 2021, during the COVID years. Listening, it's gonna be nervy.
Yeah, I feel a bit sick about Tuesday, if I'm honest. So hopefully, if we get a result on Saturday, that will just take a little bit of that pressure off it. Wrapping up then, any other business? We seem to be making the headlines for some mad reasons at the moment, Barrow. The one about, obviously, ex-Barrow player, now prolific Scouse drug dealer. Dave, we've busted by his password being Barrow AFC.
See, that's loyalty, that's commitment. That Raheem Harper, take notice. This is a man who will, literally, who will go to prison for the shirt. No, it's a funny one because last summer I was posting bits and bobs on Twitter, like kind of going through my archives and posting pictures from the Unibond Championship winning season that Ventry was a part of, and he kind of slid into my DMs and was asking if I had not spare 50 quid. No, he was asking if I had like some like video footage or anything from that season, which obviously doesn't really exist. And, you know, if I could send in some clippings and a few other bits and bobs. So we had a bit of a back and forth, and he was on about organising a get together of all those Scousers who won that championship. And I think they have met up once or twice, and then a couple of weeks later, he posted a picture that they'd all met up in Liverpool, and it was kind of, you know, guess the players and all that sort of thing. And, you know, kind of reading his demise the other day. I kind of went through my DMs, and they seem to have disappeared. So whether he's had all of his accounts expunged, I don't know. But yeah,
are you going to write to him in jail, Dave?
I might see if there's a gnarled midfield veteran that might be able to come out and do a job, you know, maybe on early release or something like that. He might be able to come up and kick a few lads up a height for the rest of the League Two season. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be at least one ex-Barra player knocking about in Walton or wherever he is. I'm sure.
That reminds me of, what's he called, Wainwright, who was on loan to us. I think he's a former Neil Wainwright, former Darlington Morecambe player. He randomly slid into my DMs on Instagram, trying to get me involved in some Forex trading,
okay.
pyramid scheme thing. And I was like, oh, it's the Barrow legend, Neil Wainwright. Obviously, he's like played a few games all over us. And then he was like properly he was just wanting me involved in his pyramid scheme. And I was like, nah, mate, not that. I'm daft, but I'm not that daft.
Do you know, it says a lot about us too, Fraser, that we don't get, you know, attractive young women sliding into our DMs. We get former loanees and former assistant managers. But, you know, you take what you can get when you get to this age, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Yeah, a couple of bit of news from the club. We talked about this, you know, 6-pointer against Shrewsbury away next Tuesday, but arguably even bigger fixture is at home to Harrogate in a couple of weeks. Club announced some big ticket offers on that, so there is a real incentive to try and pack out Holker Street and do a little bit of, you know, what Ronan was saying last week, you know, getting behind the team, which will certainly be a lot easier if we can go into that game with a couple of good results and a bit of distance between us and them, and then just pile the misery on Harrogate. That would be lovely. So yeah, anybody who's listening who's not seen that offer, you know, shout about it, tell a friend, get people down, and yeah, enjoy a bit of association football at Holker Street. Yeah, I think we'll leave that there unless anything else from you, Dave or Fraser. I think we've covered the majority of the misery tonight.
Yeah.
Satisfied with that?
Yeah, I'm done. That's the counselling session done for this week, Jonny. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm as satisfied as one can be in the current circumstances.
Yeah, well, like I said, we've had a good run with these podcasts when teams in Dave Ingham's mini league have been playing. They've all got beat every time we've done that, so there's been no surprises there. One thing on that, I must add, Bristol Rovers do seem to be climbing away a little bit. That Steve Evans effect seems to be clicking in a little bit. We've got that rearranged game against them coming up soon. Has anything been announced of Oldham as well? I've not seen anything.
No, I'm not seeing anything.
So they're going to come thick and fast, these games, as they always do around February and March. So, yeah, it's all to play for. Dave, Fraser, thanks for your time. We'll speak again next Wednesday, and God knows what mood we'll be in.
Nice one. Cheers, Jonny.
Cheers, Jonny. Bye-bye.